And now Brandon Etheridge to talk about social media best practices.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Hopefully I can give you something useful that you can learn and implement in your businesses. To give you a brief introduction, this was supposed to be myself and my wife, Charlie. She had some other things come up and wasn't able to make it, so you were stuck with the least good looking of the Etheridge duo. But we worked on this together, so you'll get the best of our brains, hopefully, here in this presentation. So there's a couple things I want to touch on here, and Ward got into a lot of the theory around kind of the fundamentals of marketing. And so I'm going to touch on that just a little bit, and some things you'll see tying together. But then we'll talk about use, and then the part that everybody probably gets the most hung up on is creation, and how to consistently have good content going out. So we'll spend a good bit of time there. So, talking about theory I think is really important, because a lot of times when we go to social media and we think about social media marketing, a lot of people are tempted to Google, what do I need to be posting for my business, or what kind of things can I use to fill my social media calendar? And it gives you a lot of great information about, oh, you can post a reel, or you can post a boomerang, or a story, or this or that. But what I think is really important, and what we really wanted to make sure that you all understood is knowing your mission and defining your why is some of the most important pieces to building a good social strategy. It's what Charles and I do every day. So I work for the College of Liberal Arts here on campus. I've been marketing for them for about 4 years. Charles's with the College of Business. She's been there about 2 years. Prior to doing this, she worked in the fashion industry doing social media marketing for a company, and I worked in the news business, scaring the living daylights out of people for my day job and myself. So when you're summarizing your mission, obviously you want to sell something, you want to provide a service, but really think about, like Ward talked about, think about what problem you are solving for people. I think that's the biggest way that you can get ahead of where a lot of people are thinking of. Don't think about, I want to book this appointment, I want to sell this product, I want to sell this dog treat. It's my dog's birthday, so I need to talk to you later. Get some dog treats for him. But think about what it is, that story piece, that why you do this. That'll really help you, and we're going to do some activities later that'll tie this, and you'll see where this comes together. On use, important things, we talked about personalizing. A lot of people think about social media as being a megaphone, and you're just saying whatever you have to say as loud as you absolutely can for the most people to hear it. And there is some truth in that, but it's really important to identify who your audience is, what platforms they're on, and then create a plan to really engage those people. So let's jump into that. This is maybe small to see, so hopefully we can get you these slides afterwards. But it's important to be in the right place and not in every place. The number one thing, so I manage social media for our college, but I also consult for 14 departments across our portfolio that do not have full-time social media managers. I'm actually going to be showing you some of the things that I present to our folks that if they can do it, they are PhDs, I promise you can, if they can manage their social. I spend more time talking people out of starting social media accounts than I do trying to get them to do social media. And the reason is you don't need to be everywhere. So if I'm trying to, let's say, I want to target men in their 50s to 60s that lean Democratic and have a college degree, I'm thinking LinkedIn, based on this, is probably where I need to be. Maybe not TikTok. And so it's important to think, right? It's easy to say, I'm going to jump from this to this, and I'm going to do Reels, and I'm going to do TikTok, and I'm going to get involved on Reddit. Slow down. and hopefully this is providing you some comfort that you don't need to be everywhere doing everything. But slow down and think about where your audience really is. And maybe, so I'll give you the example of what I do. So with our college, we look at our constituents and who our customers, if you will, are. And we have prospective students. We're going to talk about people that make irrational decisions, 17 to 18-year-olds. Try marketing to that, that's fun. So we've got 17 to 18-year-olds trying to figure out where they're going to college. We've got students that we're trying to engage in our current programming. I call them our captive audience. We have them here. We can draw a circle around where they are. We have their parents. We have our alumni that are everywhere. If you look at my college, we have everything from aviation to philosophy and music to history. So quite the spread of different interests and types of people. And then we have people that are our donors that give back, that are actively engaged in giving their time and resources to the college. So for us, you will see us on almost all of these, but we're not doing the same thing on every single one of them. I'm going to be talking to my prospective students on Instagram in a very different way than I'm engaging our alumni on LinkedIn. There's different stories I'm going to be telling. So for example, today on LinkedIn and Twitter, so we have a very engaged faculty population on our Twitter. We were posting about research. We were posting an article where one of our faculty members had been featured. On Instagram, I don't know if you've seen the Little Mr. and Little Miss things that everybody is posting. That's what we were doing because that's what these young people are interested in. I don't do it. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I do this every day. I just do. Yeah. So that's important. This one's even harder to see than the last one. I'm so sorry for this. It's important to know how people engage across different platforms, right? You may post a news article or your favorite recipe on Facebook and have a link to it, and then you may post a picture of that thing that you made and talk about what you did in the comments on Instagram. You engage with those platforms differently. So understanding what it is that people are doing, what it is they're looking for on that platform, right? On Instagram, people want to see really pretty pictures. The company wants you to post videos. That's what they're telling us now. And on LinkedIn, keeping up with news, posting and sharing photos and videos. LinkedIn's my favorite platform, so please feel free to follow me there and you'll see how I exploit the platform. TikTok, funny and entertaining content. Twitter is funny and entertaining, but also that keeping up with news piece. So there's pieces that cross over the lines of these different platforms, but there are core groups that are on each of them. And hopefully between knowing how people are using the platforms and who is using those platforms, you can kind of start to get an idea of how you might be able to better engage across those platforms. So this is Adam Mosseri. He is the global head of Instagram for Meta. And one of the things at the end of this, I think it's useful to be able to follow people and quickly be able to get bite-sized pieces of information about these topics. So that, the one thing with social media is, as Ward said, his fundamentals have stayed the same for 49 years. We're lucky if things online stay the same for 49 seconds. They are constantly changing. And one thing, and the reason I show this, and he will be on a list that I'm going to give you at the end of this of people to follow that you might find interesting and find helpful after this. He does Ask Me Anythings. Great piece of content, by the way, if you want to educate people. He does Ask Me Anythings on Instagram. And you can literally, every Thursday, he opens up his Instagram and says, send me whatever questions you have. And I've sent him several, he's not done them yet. But he's doing a lot of people questions. I think he sees that it says in my bio, I'm a social media manager. He's like, I'm not touching that. But I think this piece of what he's saying is really important to help you kind of realize and think about. Somebody asked, what tips do you have for small creators? And I think his answer is interesting.
Everyone's audience is different, so you have to experiment and figure out what's going to resonate with your audience. Lean into video because that seems to be something that everybody wants to see more of recently. And then beyond that, think of new and creative ways of connecting the different products we offer, because that's always exciting to see.
So everybody's audience is different, right? Danny's cheesecake audience and Rachel's mortgage audience, they may be some of the same people, but they're going to engage with those things differently. They may be the same demographic, but they're going to engage differently. Prime example, so for Charlesy and I, she manages the College of Business, I manage the College of Liberal Arts. One thing that she will not post on her Instagram accounts are student takeovers, where we give students the account and they show us a day in their life. Their students aren't interested in it, doesn't perform well for them, don't see any results from it. We have same age group, same breakdown of students, on the same college campus, that eat the same meals every day. My students love it. I'll have somebody post one of these daily lives. I've got one tomorrow. We'll probably go up 20 or 30 followers. On the same campus with the same demographic of students producing the same kind of content, and our results are completely different. So that's one thing I hope that he's saying this and me saying this will tell you, just because X person is doing something and it's working really well for them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in your context, even if they look very similar. So creation. Who has Googled or YouTubed or watched videos online of someone talking about how they created all their social media content for the month in 30 minutes and this is how you can do it, and then been very, very frustrated because it never works and it never will. You cannot create 30 days of content in 30 minutes. It's never going to happen. So what I'm hoping to do is give you a framework in this section to think about how you tell your story. So we're going to take that story that Ward talked about and put some legs to it and talk about how we tell that story. Because it is true that you get very bored with your brand very quickly and the urges to change it, but like we said, no one else even knows about it. So we're going to talk about ways to help you think better about the content you're creating and hopefully get some ideas. So, building a strategy. And this I'm going to grab out of my bag, and I meant to grab this earlier. What I do with my faculty, and again, I say if they can do it, you can do it. I absolutely promise you. When we're looking at doing social media strategies, I give them a little packet, and it has a lot of this information in it. But I want you to see the parts that I look at when I'm planning for them. I give them some rules, because I have rules for all of them. You don't need my rules. I can't tell you what to do. We talk about the who and the what. Who's on what platforms and what are they doing there? So that same information that I gave you there. We talk about key changes, because this stuff is changing all the time. So we have some people that touch this once a week, once a month, that they're using social, so I wanted to give them an update on what that looks like. The other key piece that I do, and this is what we're going to work on tonight, is key content areas. I think this is the most helpful tool that you could be given as someone that does not do this full time. I have key content areas I've got to put up on my computer over there that help me think through what I'm doing. But it gives you a groundwork of saying, I'm not just posting about my business. These are the areas of my business that I'm posting about. So I'm hoping this is going to be really, really useful for you. I want to give full credit. There's a company called Plan that does Instagram content creation and scheduling. They created this concept. I learned it from them and have kind of expanded upon it in some of the work that I do. And I think it's a super helpful tool. So this is a sample strategy. I believe it's this one I've got in front of me, that I gave to one of my groups. And the way that I want you to think about this, it looks like an Instagram grid, right? We've got the 3x3 squares. And so I'm putting in here things to post about. What are broad topics? Not getting super tactical about what the post is, but what are the broad umbrellas that group our post? Or what things can I plug into based on my story? So for our group, for example, there's community, right? We have people that are involved. All of us, I think, have some sort of community around our business. At least I hope you do. That's how you make money. And so we're talking about highlighting that community, sharing that community, promoting that community. Behind the scenes, I think this one, actually, yes, it is this one, was for the art department. So I said, what if we did some behind the scenes things of setting up and tearing down your galleries, or maybe it could be you're making a candle for your business like Ward was talking about. Education. I think there's a lot of people in here that could do some education posts. I am 25 years old. I have a mortgage. I barely understand it. I could use some education, right? Being that thought expert on whatever the topic is that you're into. Everybody loves a testimonial. There's no replacement for a good testimonial. Inspiration post, maybe that's part of your business. If you're a life coach, that could be a great part of your social strategy. For this group, alumni spotlights, there's some mentoring groups, so some alumni spotlights might be helpful for you. That's supposed to say a sneak peek. Clearly, I did not proofread well enough. So a sneak peek. What are things on coming soon? What are things that aren't out yet? Something to excite people, make them feel like they're on the inside. Events are great. Event posts are great. For this group, facilities, maybe for your business, you have a facility that you want to show off. That can be great too. What I want you to do is in the center of your table, there's some papers with boxes on them. And they are not in the same configuration, mainly because 8.5 by 11 paper did not make it easy to do that. But what I want us to do is on this page, I've got some what topics fit your business. And there's more than were on the last one, some of the same ones. But I want you to think about your business. And we're just going to go one platform, one audience right now. So choose whatever platform you want. It can be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. And then think about the audience that's there. And then I want you to think about some of those things that Ward talked about. What problems are we trying to solve? Do we need to build community? Do we need to humanize ourselves as part of our business? Do we need to just promote a product? You know, do we need to talk about events? Do we do a lot of events in our business? Do we need to teach people about something? And I want you to write in those squares, pick a couple on here, or if there's something that sparks your interest that's not on here, put that in the square as well. And I want you to just fill out those 9 squares with where you think, what topics you think you might could make as part of your social media efforts. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. Yes.
How do people on Instagram
Yes.
build their audience? For example, I'm on Instagram and I can post pictures without painting, and I might get some likes, few. I might post something about my business and I might get zilch.
Right.
And then I look at other Instagram pages, it's like over 100 or 1K or such. Are they buying likes and then they're building from that? Like, is that the best strategy, is to buy likes and then build?
Absolutely. I would say you're never going to sustainably build an audience that way. The platforms are very much so trying to get away from that because normal people don't like that.
I would not do that. I was just wondering, because I've seen Instagram pages and how on earth are you, like 2,000 people are looking at your page, and I'm looking at the content, but I'm trying to, find that balance.
Yep.
Okay, what are you saying? What are you posting? How are you capturing these people? And it's like a formula that I can't solve. I can't figure out.
I would say another big piece of that is, as much as you focus on the content you're building, think about the community you're building. At the end of the day, it is a social network, not an ad platform. And I think a lot of times, even as someone that does this every day, I forget that. And so thinking about, is there a group of people, and I'm thinking locally, and I know some that have dogs that love their dogs, working with those people, thinking about those things and how you can engage people. Maybe it's, my dog, we don't keep up with it anymore, but we had a social media page for our dog at one time. So looking for some of those kind of things, dog groups, people at the dog park, things like that. Look at how you can engage those people, and it may not be just getting them to like something, but getting them hooked on your product and sharing your social media in that as well. Building that back and forth. Prime example, Sidetrack Coffee in Opelika. I spend way too much time and money there. On social media, so there was the fire in downtown Opelika earlier this week. And David, that owns the place, just an incredibly intentional individual. One of the things that he did was, once things had gotten cleared out, he posted, I think it's the most recent post on their page, a letter basically to their community that comes and sees him and gets coffee from him and whatnot, and named every single person in the post and thanked them for stopping by and checking on him after the fire. His business wasn't caught on fire, it was one down the road, but and that says something. I would have never expected something like that, but also, I engage with him face-to-face in person in his coffee shop. I don't necessarily engage with him a ton online, but I know I was posting about what was happening and sending my thoughts to him and my other friends that own businesses down there. And while that may not be huge for their engagement that day, the idea that me and my 200, 300 followers that I have on my personal social media is amplifying their message and their channels to 200 or 300 people they would not have access to otherwise. And so I think that's an important piece too. And I love my wife, I hate she couldn't be here, is a whiz when it comes to influencer marketing and using other people's audiences to elevate their own. She does this masterfully with the College of Business, I think. But it is about getting other people to be advocates for you. It starts with, giving Ward the pitch on your story and telling him about it, and once he becomes that loyal customer, having that engagement and encourages him to post about it online. What you got?
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you follow the Irritable Bow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a restaurant in Auburn that, like, the owner is extremely gregarious, and he takes pictures of almost every customer every day and posts it on
I don't see how he has time.
And I think all
Is
those
that why the
young
line's so long?
people are like following him now, and older people, and like, I don't know, but like maybe if you could get your customers dogs, like people love dogs, they like dogs way more than people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I sure
And
do.
so, we have a dog and people follow our dog way more than they ever follow us. But like if you could post the dogs of the people whose treats you sell, I
And
mean,
that's what my friend that does it does. She has the dog of the week or
Yep.
whatever, customer of the week.
I will say, and in my day-to-day work, one of the things that we joke about, we do Tiger Giving Day here at the university every year. And every year we sit in a big room, several of us that do these projects, and roll our eyes thinking about what the College of Veterinary Medicine will use a dog for this year that has nothing to do with a dog. Why? Because people see it and they click on it and they give stupid amounts of money to whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what it is. If you can use a pet, use a pet. Okay, so now that we've given you some time to think through some of these things, what I want you to do on those side columns, there's a longer line and a shorter line, and I super apologize, there's probably not enough room for you to be able to write these, but I want you to take a couple of minutes, and we can keep going back and forth and answering questions while you do this. Think about, on the long line, what kind of content, like a tactical piece of content you might create that would fit into that category. And then, is it on the short line, maybe you can do like a V or a I for image or V for video, what medium you might use to tell that. And so what I'm thinking here to kind of give you an idea, maybe it is that community piece and you're gonna be posting a picture of every single person that comes through your door on a certain day, like Irritable Bow does. Maybe it's a behind the scenes, maybe you wanna, and I will say too, and I think this is important to share here. So this is an example, I like to give our folks examples of what these look like when I give them this handout. Know that a piece of content may fill every single one of these buckets. It may fill 3, sometimes it may fill 2.5, so know that some of these things can bleed over depending on what it is, but maybe it's you on Facebook Live talking about what changes in mortgage rates right now mean for your customers. Maybe it is an inspiration post. Maybe think about some of the things you can inspire your clients around if you're a life coach. Testimonials. Think about some of those people that you've interacted with that have told you things and how you can use that and turn it into a post. User-generated content. Let me explain that one a little bit just because I'm thinking that was probably one of the few that was not used a ton. That's anything that you don't create, but you're sharing that someone else creates. When they share a post about you, when they leave a review, I think I was looking at some of your social profiles. Someone here work with babies? Babies? Any babies? Nope. Okay. Don't remember the name of the business, but I remember babies. They had shared a review that a customer left them, and I think that's great. That's social proof of what people are saying about you. I mean, you can't pay for that. So take a couple minutes, think about what some of those things might be. And hopefully when you leave here, we'll have sort of a going list. You can think these are things we can put into practice pretty quick. While you're doing that, I do want to say one thing that we're not doing that hopefully you're not too disappointed by is going through and talking about with each platform the specific ways to do specific things and ways to make posts and the carousels and the reels and the TikTok videos. And the reason that is because those are super helpful, but like I said, 49 seconds after we leave, that could completely change. And so you can always, I do this every single day, I've been doing this for years, and still every day you will catch me at my desk Googling, how to do XYZ on Instagram or how to do XYZ on Facebook. One, because it changes all the time. There's new stuff. There's different ways to do things. There's more efficient and easier ways to do things than when I started doing this. And so you can always go and Google those things. Strategy is something that, one, people will charge you ridiculous amounts for that is not always necessary. So I wanted to give you a framework of how to think about your business and think about your platforms and your audience, so that, you know, when I'm not here, when every single platform is different, you can still pull on those tools. I, every day, will draw out squares, write my things in them, and kind of brainstorm based off things I've got going on in content. So hopefully this will give you some ways to brainstorm and think about things without specifically telling you something that could be very different tomorrow. Okay, so hopefully you've had some time. You can keep working on those. What I would love to do is hear a couple of people tell us your name, what your business is, what one of your squares is, and one of the pieces of content you're thinking about making, and I will help you remember that because that is a long list. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Awesome.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, my name is Zane, and I am building a social music app for artists to compete. Basically just for artists to compete. Okay, and so the audience kind of votes on their favorite kind of content from the artist. And I was thinking about a good thing that I could do on TikTok would be like to judge people's music myself, and like kind of point or kind of capture both the audience, both the artist and the audience people who would be voting on their favorite music, and like channeling them into my app. So yeah, I kind of like formed that around the question, but
Yeah, no, that's super smart. Driving people back to your product, using social to do that, engaging people in real time. I think that's super smart. Who else? Danny, I'm gonna make you do it. I was looking at your cheesecake pictures earlier today, and I was getting hungry. So now I'm gonna make you suffer.
What was the question again?
So tell us. Well, we all know you're Danny, and you make cheesecake. So we'll skip those two. Tell us what one of your boxes are that you were kind of thinking around, and then what kind of content you might make to kind of fill that spot.
So I'm thinking about doing on behind the scenes. A lot of people, when they come up like, oh, I don't like cheesecake, but a lot of people don't know that no bake and baked cheesecake have two different textures. So a lot of times I don't particularly like baked cheesecake. I love no baked cheesecake. So a lot of times I want to do a behind the scenes so they can see that it's a no baked cheesecake that we have certain kind of flavors we make that's a little bit different.
I love that. Actually, I was thinking about your business as I was putting this together, and that is one of the things I was thinking. So I approve. Thinking about education pieces, I was thinking too, like one of the things my father-in-law is Italian and makes stupid, crazy food. I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. I really thought growing up that Olive Garden was like creme de la creme Italian food. And then I married into this Italian family and learned that I had been eating at Italian Denny's for 20 years. So that was interesting. But, you know, he makes cheesecakes, and one of the things we love with his cheesecakes when he makes them is the different things you can put on them to change the flavor. And so you may not sell that right now, you may, but I was thinking, oh, how cool could it be to, okay, I make the cheesecake, but let me show you these cool things that you can put on it and make it all these different crazy flavors, maybe even things that people like that you don't have all the time. Stuff like that, just to get people interested in those different things. I think that's a great idea. Anybody else?
I'll do one.
Yeah.
All right, so we own a business, mobile home repair and HVAC, and so to do a monthly filter change reminder,
Yeah.
if it's going to freeze, remind everybody to leave the water running. I mean, we deal with children, so
Yeah, there are some great accounts, and I wish I could think of the names off the top of my head, but it's like accounts, and I think they're primarily on TikTok, but it's like all the things you would call your parents for.
yeah.
Yeah, people do
That's
this. Yeah. I need to change my air filter. Thank you for that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. You can think about these different things. One thing that I do want to show you, so Topic Mojo is a really cool tool that helps you understand, and like we talked about, you get into your business, and it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, people know mortgage rate, insert big words here that I know that other people don't, right? Like that's very, very easy to do. I do that with social media. Doing these kind of presentations is hard for me because I get in the weeds every day, and I'm like, okay, I got to come back, reset, let me think about what I would need if I was in this situation. So Topic Mojo I think is really interesting. So what I did, this is the website. It's just topicmojo.com. And one of the folks does some things around mentorship. Is that person here? Mentorship? Nope. Awesome. So I typed in mentorship, and hopefully this link works. If not, I will. Okay, it didn't. So let's do mortgage. Okay, so mortgages. So let's see what we've got here. Some phrases that people have Googled. Here it gives you some ideas. What I personally like is questions. Where to start with a mortgage? Where to apply for a mortgage? Where to mortgage a property? Mortgage where on a balance sheet? Now some of these just don't make sense in my head. Maybe they do make sense to you. But these give you things
Awesome.
that you can build
Educate.
content around, right? If these are the questions people are asking, let's teach them these things before they ever get to Google and have the chance to find somebody else. Let's become the leader on what these topics are. And this stays updated all the time based on what people are searching. It's an amazing tool. You can keep going down. So comparisons, what are the alternatives? What are the best? What when you compare them? I mean, just so many interesting things. And you could do this really for any of your businesses. And you'll get some ideas. You'll know what it is that people have questions about, what they're thinking about. And I think that's the biggest piece, right? Telling your story. And this is a great way. You know, I try to stay away from, we talked about Whitley and the Irritable Bowel, and I think of Amy Cotney that does real estate. Like, these are very,
She's something else.
she is absolutely something else. She is out there, very over the top. I manage social media all day. I could not do it. I don't know where she gets the energy from. I don't know how she's always happy. Like I just don't get it, right? And so I try not to use those people because it can be very quick to see, oh, I see Whitley yelling outside of his business again at the Irritable Bowel talking about lunch lines. So like, I just can't relate to that. I don't think that'd work with my audience, or I don't, that's not my personality. So I try to stay away from those people. They are really great. If you can pull that off, good for you. But this is a good way, if you can't, to humanize your business. Say that you get where people are and you're meeting them where they are and giving them that education that they need to even become a customer, right? Like we're talking about where to get a mortgage. Well, if they can't figure out where to get a mortgage, they're not coming to Rachel, right? So we've got to start building and educating, and this is a great way to kind of become a leader on some of these topics. Some of these things are, kind of make sense. What's the closest? I mean, just tons of things. How many pieces of content can you make around all of those kind of things? So I wanted to give you that. I think it's super helpful, and hopefully it will give you some ideas. So these are my recommended follows, and I'll kind of go through a couple of them. These are my recommended follows on Instagram, and I've got Instagram and TikTok on here. I didn't do the other ones because I said I'm going to use my time wisely and only choose the platforms where I really know people. So Adam Mosseri, the global head of Instagram, is a great follow. Every time there's a new feature on Instagram, he's going to do a video and let you know about it, which I think is really cool. How to use it, why they're doing it. So things that have come out recently. Instagram is going to be moving to full screen post rather than square post. That's going to completely change the game. They're moving more towards video. Everything. I think it was Friday he announced that all video formats are going to be called Reels, but you can still do all the video for you. So it's very different. He helps you kind of break that down, understand from the top what that looks like. Valentina V is a film producer in Los Angeles. She's great on social media. She's done a lot of experimenting around TikTok, so I would definitely recommend, if you're looking at TikTok, to follow her. Additionally, there's a conference. It's called Adobe Max. It is thousands of dollars to attend in person. That's not what I'm recommending. I believe this year they're still doing it online for free. They do a lot of teaching around entry-level creating content for social, how to make the reels, how to make your videos look good, how to get good audio with your videos, captions, all that kind of stuff. Might be something worth checking out. She teaches at it. That's how I met her. Sprout Social and Hootsuite are two companies. Sprout and Hootsuite both kind of do the same thing, scheduling, analytics, that sort of thing. They give a lot of good info around the types of content that's popping right now, what people are engaging with. And I want to go back to what Ward said about getting information online and it not necessarily being the best information. there was a post that I was looking at from Sprout this morning that was talking about what people want out of social content. It was specifically, it was talking about a bunch of different things, but one of the things they were talking about was video. And point number 3 was that your video doesn't need to be perfect and prim and polished. Like, be real, be authentic with people. If you're just holding a phone, that's totally fine. Point 6 was that you need professionally produced videos and that everything has to be, and I'm like,
Okay.
the same person made this list. What are we talking about? Like, and so I want you to know, you will hear person 1 saying one thing, person 2 saying another. Like I said, very different audiences, even the same audience with the same context, very different results. So don't be discouraged. Experiment, try different things. Try a testimonial that's a picture of someone with a quote next to them. Try one that's just a text in their name. Try one that is them actually saying it. You know, see what your audience likes. I do this all the time, and it changes. If you look at our Instagram and you scroll back, you know, like 6 month or so increments, you'll see real changes in how we're posting, what kinds of things we're leaning into, because our audience changes. We're just kind of evolving and evaluating, seeing what's performing well, what's not over time. My recommended follows on TikTok, number 1 is just to search social tips and tricks. Again, there will be some bad recommendations, as in anything, right? But scroll through, get some ideas. It's a great place to get ideas. Think about what your audience, or what different people are creating, what's new, what's different. Social and stuff, and the second one, whose title I'm not even going to try, is Brendan G. Hahn, I think is the separation there. Some really great information on general content creation, social strategy. Brady Shearer is a little more niche. He focuses on social media and churches and religious organizations, but I think there's still some good things. He breaks it down right to some very basic level, some high brow topics to very basic levels. I think he's a good follow. If you're feeling fancy, Stephen G. Pope is why I put him at the bottom. Is a one-man, two-man-ish content creating machine. He has workflows and automations and all of this crazy kind of stuff that I think is highly interesting. I do this all day, every day, full time, and I think it's a little much. But there's rhythms and ideas and workflows that you can pull from what he's saying that I think is useful. So if you hear me say anything, it's as you're researching these things, because you will. You'll need to know how to do different things. Things will change. Take everything with a grain of salt. Think about how realistic it is for your business and what you can actually manage day to day. My wife runs a makeup business on the side. She does wedding makeup. She has an Instagram account, and when we were starting out, we started building, these things, and it's really easy when you're sitting in your living room or in your office or in a coffee shop with a nice beverage, thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be great and beautiful and wonderful, and then you actually do it, and you're like, what is happening? I can't manage this is not realistic for me. And so I think the key piece for all of this is, as you're doing it, be real with yourself, right? You just got to be honest with you. What can you manage? How much can you manage? How much of this can be created ahead of time and scheduled in a platform like Hootsuite? You can do it completely for free in Hootsuite, and in Sprout, I believe, as long as you stay under a certain number of social media profiles, which is great. You can take a day and plan out everything for a few weeks or a month, but always be thinking. And I like to keep a notebook next to me of, if I come up with an idea or a note in my phone, let me put this down, because I'm going to forget it, because we're over communicated with and we have very short attention spans, and I promise mine is shorter than 8 seconds. But to keep those ideas going and thinking about them, so that when it is time to sit down, you have some things to pull from, and hopefully the grid and the reference sheet will give you a little bit of a starting point. This is reviewing questions. We talked about doing some review of people's social medias, but I feel like we got a good amount of time talking about different folks' platforms and what you're thinking and how you're thinking about your businesses. So I do want to open it up for a few minutes, because like with Wards, this goes very deep. It's something very tactical that you'll be doing with your business day to day. What questions do you have? What conversations can we have that you think will be useful as you're thinking about using social for your businesses?
From the standpoint of growing your audience, or followers.
Yeah.
Engagement, engaging with other people and other things, that's proven to be a good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, so one of the things that I do anytime I post is before I hit post or hit schedule, I think about who this is involving and how I can organically tag them, right? So if, you know, I'm as the College of Liberal Arts posting about a student and that student is also involved in ROTC, right? I'm gonna find a way in the way I word my post to tag the ROTC program so they'll share it as well, and then our posts are getting exposure to their audience. Anytime you can collaborate, if you're setting up a demo at someone else's business, tagging them in it, you know, I would love to sit here and say, you know, the algorithm is gonna say that if you tag this person, you're set up at their business, then it's gonna show it to their, I can't say that. I spend way too much time thinking about what the algorithm is doing, and I don't understand any of it. But yeah, I would say anytime you can build a relationship, build a string between you and another business, that's always helpful.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I temporarily pursued independent consultant
Mhm.
work, and I shamelessly paid for a program to help me with my social media. And one of the things she told us is that we would have to include aspects of our personal life on our business social media pages. So what is your take on that?
I disagree. I think it's important to be human, and I think it's important to show humanity. I don't think you need to get into your personal life if you don't want to. My wife, her makeup business is her makeup business. She is the person. It would be very rare that you would see her posting about her personal life. I think there are some places where that works, right? Like maybe if you're a health and wellness person and you live a healthy and well lifestyle, which I'm very envious of, right? Like maybe that works. Maybe talking about your day-to-day life, your rhythms, those sorts of things work. Maybe it doesn't, right? If you're doing mortgages, I don't need to know the lives of my mortgage. I don't need to know what she had for breakfast or what she's eating for lunch or what her kids are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what I need from that person. I think it's important to think about the context for your business. If you're not doing work that is actively intruding in the rhythms of people's life, I don't think that's super necessary. I also think that also sends the message that only extroverts can be business owners, which I don't think is the case.
Can I touch back on the tagging of businesses?
Absolutely.
Because that is something that I've been experimenting with lately. Just this past week, I went to an event and made this cute video and tagged both of the businesses and got nothing, even from those two businesses. So what did I do wrong?
Nothing. You know, I think it's important to remember that on the other side of those accounts are also people like you that are probably just barely doing social on their own, trying to manage it all. What I like to do, because I found this at the college as well, I like to tell people, hey, I'm posting XYZ, I'll make sure to tag you, share it with your audience. Or, hey, I'll post this and tag your business so you can use it. I'm giving you something for free, take it, here, use it. I think that's the piece, you know, if you know the people and you know you had some interaction with them, like, hey, I'm doing this video, I'm gonna post it to my page later today, you can share it if you want to. Stuff like that, I think, it's that piece that we talked about. We personalize the email, therefore you feel inclined like you have to be here because we're gonna know. I have literally told you in person, I am sharing this video and I'm going to tag you, and I know it's gonna tell you that I'm gonna tag you, so share the video, right? So that might be something you can consider, but it's not gonna be surefire all the time that it's gonna work, because again, it's someone on the other side that has to do it.
Should you ask their permission to tag them?
Yeah, so that's, if it's a business, I say no. I think unless you're like saying something really bad about them, in which case you probably wouldn't care to ask their permission anyways. I think there are some cases, especially if you're tagging personal pages, I have the policy, right, a lot of the stuff I do is about students, faculty, and staff that don't have public pages, they have personal pages. It's my policy, I don't tag them unless we've discussed it ahead of time. However, I will tag other units, businesses, organizations without any consultation. If you work with children, people under 18, there's going to be some legal questions you have with that. Talk to your lawyer, not me, where you may need consents from parents and stuff like that. But typically, if it's another business, I don't ask for permission to post that.
If you have a, say, a narrow customer range,
Right.
does a single social media platform, could that still be successful?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's important to think about where where your customers are. So I use this example with our faculty. They're on most platforms, but there's a very large community and an active community of researchers on Twitter, where they share their research, share what they're doing, want to brag about themselves, that sort of thing. And so I tend to put more effort on our research emphasis of what our business would be, that line of business, if you will, almost exclusively there, because that's where I know it's going to be consumed by people that care about it. I think the most important thing is, if you're not engaging with people that care about it on a platform, you're probably wasting your time. And if it's super narrow, if it's only a B2B business to business organization, maybe something like an email newsletter with some regular frequency makes more sense to get into the right people's inbox than a social media profile. Something to think about. I think it depends on the business, but yeah, you can 100% go where your customers are and don't waste time on the rest.
Do you think you could just share with us, like through email, that slide that had the demographics of the different?
Yes, can I send it to
You'll
you?
send it to me, I'll send
Perfect.
it to all the attendees.
Perfect, yep, we'll get it
Thanks.
to you, yeah. And those are great things. I mean, again, that changes all the time as well. And as new products come online, so you should be able to, I believe, where did that data come from? That was from Pew. So, fairly reputable is the Pew Foundation, but Googling that, again, paying attention to who is putting out the research. But I know Pew, I think they put this out once or twice a year. This one was by QWI, so a little bit more niche. But some of those things, I would say, safe to Google those. Just watch who you're getting the information from, so you have the most up to date. But yeah, we'll get this out to you.
I'll send it to you.
Anybody else? No. Awesome. Well, I'm Brandon Etheridge. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have more questions, something comes up, you think about something, feel free to reach out to me. You're most likely to get me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. So, appreciate it. Thank you.